All right, it is about that time to talk some PS5 pickups to share with you all the additions that I have made to the collection over the last few weeks. And I think we got exactly 10 games here to get through today. So, yeah, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you enjoy the content, consider liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. All right, start off with Silent Hill 2. Just finished this today, and man, Silent Hill 2. I have talked about it before on the channel that I'm not the biggest Silent Hill guy in the world. That I enjoy the series, but I'm not like a die-hard Silent Hill guy. I've played through the first three, and I need to get to part four, or Silent Hill 4: The Room sometime soon. But I I know Silent Hill 2 is regarded as like the GOAT in the survival horror genre, and I just never really subscribed to that idea. I was like, it's good, it even great, especially storytelling. The storytelling is fantastic, but I was like, it's not, it's not immaculate. And I would say the remake is pretty fucking immaculate. It takes something that already has such a strong story, but adds in gameplay that you actually want to engage with now. Like, the gameplay is actually really good in the remake, and really fucking hard. It's really, really hard. And I don't remember ever struggling with the original game in the same way that I did with the remake. The remake brutalized me on a number of occasions, and that's the thing with Silent Hill 2, that word brutal. It's just brutal across the board, from its direct themes and direct story that you're seeing play out through the course of the game, to its indirect themes and the subtlety of, just finding little tidbits in the world and just seeing how truly fucked up every inch of this environment is. And yeah, man, it's just a really, really heavy game. A really heavy game. It's one of those that, like, I have a hard time saying, oh yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Like, I'm trying to look for that cap. What is the thing to say to finalize my experience? And usually what someone is going to say is, I enjoyed it a lot, had a really good time with it. I can't say that about this game at all. You know what I mean? I don't think it's something that is, I don't think the intention behind making Silent Hill 2 initially was for it to be enjoyed. And I think that carries through to the remake as well. I do think, though, that just the improvements to the combat across the board, making a much bigger, much more, it's not bigger necessarily, it's just more interactive. There's more to see, there's more to go and find. There's more locations to explore. Having the quick weapon swap, I don't think you were able to quickly swap between your handgun and shotgun and rifle all right there on the D-pad. You might have been able to do that in the original. It's been a few years since I played it, but I don't think you were able to do that in the original. I definitely know you weren't able to, like, just press triangle and automatically heal yourself. That is a game changer mechanically. Just having that little quality of life feature added in makes such a humongous difference in the overall experience. And I'm not trying to go on all day with this, but I gotta shout out it's not like a world beater on any technical level. I don't think it's like one of the most impressive looking video games you'll ever play in your life, but I do think there's moments, especially, not to spoil anything, but you're not outside roaming around Silent Hill at night much at all. But there is one section in the game in particular where it's just like, oh my god, the reflections, the lighting, just the atmosphere in that one very brief moment. It's on a different level, man. It's on a different level. And also, shooting the enemy in the knee, like, that's the one where you'll see, as it adopted that Resident Evil 2 over the shoulder, that camera perspective, and being able to freely aim your weapon and shit now, and then popping an enemy in the knee, they drop down, you take that fucking pipe and just bash their head in. The little dodge mechanic, I think that's a new addition in the remake. And there was one, not nitpick, I don't even know what you would really call this, but from the Chant, the game that came out a couple years ago, where if you spam dodge too many times, your character will fall. I think that feature would have been excellent in Silent Hill 2, the remake, just to add even if, maybe save it only for the hard mode or whatever, but just add another little layer of tension to this already unbelievably tense experience. So yeah, that's a game of the year contender without a shadow of a doubt. The at the end of the game, the Lakeview Hotel, I think, is one of the most brilliantly designed locations ever in any survival horror game, literally ever. I would put that right up there with the Raccoon City Police Department, the Ishimura. Like, it is a top tier location in any survival horror game. Fucking fantastic, man. So yeah, I don't want to continue going on and make this a 20-minute video about Silent Hill, but I loved that remake, and I'm not crazy about the original. I like the original, but I'm not gung ho about it whatsoever. That remake, that's top fucking tier. That's up there on a similar level to almost any Resident Evil. I mean, I would still take RE2 remake, RE4 remake over Silent Hill 2 remake, but it's fucking close. That is a great video game. And now, transitioning from a great video game to not a great video game, Looney Tunes, Wacky World of Sports. Anytime there's a new sports game that comes out, especially arcadey sports, my ears perk up a little bit. I'm like, oh, let's see what we got here. And Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports absolutely does not deliver. They take, what is it, baseball, basketball, tennis, soccer, and golf. Tennis, golf are okay. Soccer is I guess somewhat decent. The basketball is horrible. It is so unbelievably bad. Like, you can't miss shots. Once you figure out the, lining up your shot and the timing, you literally cannot miss. No matter how good the defense is, unless they block your shot, you literally cannot miss. And basketball definitely is my favorite sport. Out of any of the games that were added into Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports. So that was the thing I immediately jumped to, and I was so disappointed. But some of the other sports on offer aren't awful. So if the tennis, I actually did end up having a decent amount of fun with the tennis. The golf, they have like some special abilities and shit. When you're going for a long drive, you can, I think it's like press L1 if you built up this meter, and you'll do a crazy overpowered swing. And so they have some of that Mario sports energy in Looney Tune Wacky World of Sports, but not the quality, not even close to the quality. I also picked up Maneater. I've really been wanting to play this for some reason. I just want to play it again. I saw recently that it sold like 10 million copies or something. I was just like, how is that even possible? I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined that Maneater would go on to sell 10 million copies, but by I believe the developer, what was it, Tripwire, right? Yeah, Tripwire. I believe they put out a tweet themselves that they were like, we're happy to announce Maneater has sold over 10 million copies, and definitely astonished by those figures. But the game is really good. I never ended up finishing it on the PlayStation 4 though, so I've been wanting to replay it and finally finish it. Just a shark RPG, as unique as it gets. Wild Bastards. Speaking of unique games, this is really, really damn fun. It's like a mix of a board game and a first-person shooter and a roguelike. And I know that if you're anything like me, you hear roguelike and it immediately turns you off. I would say give this one, if you have any interest in what you're seeing on the screen, I would give this one a shake, because it's not like one of those roguelikes where if you die, you have to start the entire game over or anything like that. It's not nearly that punishing or that tedious. It's a legitimate video game where it's got like a beginning, middle, end, a real story. And the board game component of it all is fascinating, where this you only have a certain number of turns per each like dice roll, and you can essentially, like, you have 5 moves you can make on this map, and you're wanting to go and rescue someone, so that might be 8 moves away, so you move 5 moves towards the person that you're trying to rescue, then the enemy gets their 5 moves that they're granted, and if y'all end up meeting in the middle of this board game, you have a battle. But also on this board game, there's a bunch of buffs and abilities and power-ups and things that you're wanting to go and collect outside of just your immediate and top priority goals. So it's doing some cool shit there that you just don't often see. And the first person shooting is really fun. Each character that you're going and rescuing and adding to your band of misfits as you're like these crazy space cowboys, each character has their own unique skill set, and it's just it's a really fun gameplay loop. Next up, we got El Paso Elsewhere, one of my favorite games of 2023, and just recently got a physical copy. And yeah, I didn't even see this. I haven't opened it yet, but it says includes exclusive poster and the soundtrack there. I hope you can see that on that little blue sticker. But yeah, when I saw it was getting a physical release, I was like, I have to add this to the collection. Pretty much Max Payne, that same sort of exact same gameplay loop that you'll know from the original Max Payne game, but a really compelling story, ultra compelling story, which you wouldn't think when you're seeing the character models and all that, but man, they are able to get a lot of juice out of this game, and despite the limitations visually, graphically, the story is just really well written, really well acted. The voice actors kill this thing, man. The main dude, who is also, I believe, the lead, like the lead of the studio, the creative director, if I'm not mistaken, of Strange Scaffold, Xavier Nelson, I believe is his name. I always say Xavier Nelson because I think that it's X. And anyways, but yeah, Xavier Nelson, I believe is his name, and he does like the music for the game. The music is so punchy, so strong. It's very, very dark, very depressing themes throughout the entire game. Very morbid, but just a good story, like a legitimately good story. And obviously Max Payne style combat, the bullet time mechanics, and diving over a fucking bar and blasting an enemy with your dual wielded pistols, and then it's got more spooky enemy variety and shit. Just really cool. I'm a sucker for these Wales Interactive FMV games, and I picked up 10 Dates. I know there's also a 5 Dates game out there as well, but yeah, I haven't played 5 Dates yet, but I have played. What have I played? I played Bloodshore, and the one that's kind of like a you get wrapped up with the mob. That one was actually really damn good, and I'm totally blanking on the name, but you end up doing like, it's like a heist style game. And so I've played a couple of these Wales Interactive titles, and they're just fun, especially if you're chilling with somebody. You just want to throw something on and kind of, collectively make some choices, and then play one of those choose your own adventure style games. Great to play with somebody who's not really into games. And yeah, I dig what they're putting out, because it's like an hour, 2 hours long each game. Super easy to go back and replay if you want to see different endings and shit like that. And it's the acting is a little bit better than you would suspect. I'm not saying it's top tier, nobody's winning Oscars for these Wales Interactive games, but it's pretty fucking good. It's pretty good. Marvel's Avengers. I can't tell you why I picked this up. It was super, super cheap. Grabbed a copy, and I did kind of like the story mode. I never really dabbled with the live service elements, but I did kind of dig the story mode. And I remember whenever they were shutting down the servers for the game, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they add in to where you wouldn't have to, like, they gave you all of the additional cosmetics and power-ups and all the monetization elements that they added in through, I don't know, was it a season pass or however they rolled it out, they just gave that shit away for free. So I think now if you boot up the game, the latest update will pretty much give you all of the extra shit that people paid for free. So correct me if I'm wrong on that. I don't remember exactly. I just remember seeing that in passing and being like, oh, okay, well, that now seems like a better time than ever to jump into Marvel's Avengers. But yeah, I didn't hate the main story at all. It just really repetitive, really dull, but there were a couple cool moments, like getting to play as these different iconic characters in game form that you really can't play as in any modern, well, I guess that's not true. You got like Marvel Rivals and shit, but you know what I'm saying. In like a single player story driven game, there were a few cool moments playing as the Avengers, but not a great game. Metro Exodus. I still need to finish this, and I figured why not grab it on the PS5. Same thing as Maneater. When I do get around to finishing it, might as well do it on the old PlayStation 5. I didn't put much time at all. Like Maneater, I think I'm 75%, 50% through that game. I didn't put a ton of time into Metro Exodus. I don't really remember why. I know it came out in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And that was, I know people look at 2019 as kind of a weaker year in gaming, but 2019 was just loaded with shit that I was interested in. Days Gone and Jedi Fallen Order and Judgment and The Outer Worlds and Greedfall and Resident Evil 2 Remake and that was a stacked year for shit that was just appealing to me. So it probably came out at a time, I would assume, where there was just a lot of competition, other things that I was checking out, and it just probably fell to the wayside because of that. But I did enjoy what I played, and I would like to go back and finish it. Indika, one of the weirdest games I played all year. I have tried so many times to explain this thing, and I fail each and every single time. For one, I just got to say I love the yellow, like with the cyberpunk, the spine of cyberpunk. I just love the yellow. I don't know why. I like yellow a lot, and especially this shade of like slightly darker yellow. You'll see that on my thumbnails quite a bit. I like yellow. I don't know why the fuck I like yellow so much. But Indika, you play as a nun, and she's possessed by the devil. And it's also a comedy game. Make of that description however the fuck you will. It is as weird and off-putting and bizarre as it gets. It's pretty much an adventure game. Going around, solve some puzzles, explore, take in a weird story. I've tried so many times to explain this game. I don't think I don't think I'll ever get this one. I don't think I'll ever be able to fully break down what this game has to offer. It is batshit crazy. And I mean that as as much of a compliment as you can possibly give to a game, because being unable to describe something in such a description driven industry where, okay, well, we're the roguelike, we're the souls like, we're the this like, we're the that like, where everything has something that it is like. Indika is unlike anything. I would say the closest thing is maybe a Plague Tale like a game of that ilk, but it's not as stealth driven. It's a game all in its own league. You also have like 2D sections and then platforming sections where you turn into like miniature characters. It is a total hallucination of epic proportions. So shout out to fucking Indika. And now this next one's pretty funny. Had to grab a copy of Concord. I when I saw it was going offline, I was like, this is a relic. This is something that, you know, I was like, I need to own. This is the biggest flop. You could make the argument at this point it might be the biggest flop ever, regardless of platform. It's undoubtedly the biggest first party flop ever from Nintendo, Microsoft, or from Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation. Without a doubt, there's no other game that's lost as much money as Concord, I would imagine. But then when you factor in the $400 million, it's like maybe no other game ever has lost this much money. So I was like, this is something that I want to own a copy of it. Now, I bought a U.S. English copy of the game where all the writing on where I bought the game, the picture that I was looking at when I clicked purchase was all English on the front, and I received a copy that's all Spanish. So yeah, I guess sure. I guess I'll take the copy with the Spanish text on it. It's not like I know a lot of people were jumping in to grab a copy to secure it because they they were like, this is gonna be worth a ton of money one day. I think that Concord, without a doubt, the physical version of that game will shoot down in value really quickly. Um, so I didn't grab it because I think it's a relic in the sense of it's you're not going to be able to get many physical copies of this game. The physical copy is totally fucking useless. I just think that like I want to have something of Concord. I actually thought about buying the controller because the controller is actually pretty sick, but I wanted something to directly remind me when I look at my collection. Oh yeah, that thing existed, didn't it? And so I had to grab a copy. I'm never gonna play it. Never gonna. I have no interest in it, so it doesn't matter to me one way or the other what variation or edition of the game that I got here. But so yeah, just what a crazy situation that was with Concord. And I don't think that's the last of it, man. I really don't. I think yeah, we're in for a few more of these. I think we'll see it again with Fair Games. I think there's a strong likelihood of us seeing it again with Sony Ben's title. You don't want to project. You don't want to make those. I don't want that to happen. I don't want these companies to fail at all. You know what I mean? I think that if we could have got a success with Concord and Firewalk is off making a bunch of live service games, then you can kind of leave the studios like Sony Bend and like Naughty Dog and Insomniac and Guerrilla. You can leave them alone and let them continue working on high quality single player games, and then let the other studios that you're acquiring in the second parties and then shit like that work on your service games. But that does not seem like it's panning out too well, and then I don't think Fair Games is gonna do well either. But regardless, yeah, Concord. Nothing else really to say about Concord. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, PlayStation 4 game, I know, but I do want to shout it out because I picked this up after playing the Fighting Collection, which I bought digitally, the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, and I'll buy that physically when it comes out at some point. I actually think that's coming out this year, if I'm not mistaken, physically. So not long to wait on that Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, but absolutely loved it. Had so much fun. And the one thing I was like, damn, none of these games really have much of a story at all. Which of course they're all older titles, but it's like, okay, let me look if there's. I don't know anything about the Marvel vs. Capcom games. I played a little bit of them when I was a kid, like very, very passively, rent it for a weekend from Blockbuster. I really have no recollection of which ones I played or anything like that. So I looked up online which Marvel vs. Capcom game has a story, and they said Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite has a story. So it's like, okay, cool. I'll buy that and play it and check it out for the story. So I shall be reporting back to you sometime once I dive into it. I haven't had the chance to check it out yet, as October is stacked. Absolutely, positively stacked, man. But we'll save all of that discussion for the end of the month when I do the ranking, going through all the games that I played in October. And yeah, man. Appreciate you good people for tuning in. I also should mention, probably going to be a much quieter month on the channel because that's the thing with the free time. You know, the free time is either I'm going to be playing the game or I'm going to be creating the content. It's really, really hard to do both. And in a month this packed, so many damn games coming out, going to try to prioritize knocking some of those off. That way the backlog doesn't get insurmountable. And plus, with the game of the year rankings coming up in December, shit like that, I don't want to at least the heavy hitters. I want to make sure I'm really diving into those, checking those out before I jump into my ranking. And yeah, at this point, I'm just rambling. Appreciate you guys. If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing, liking, all that good shit. And I shall see you good people in the next video. Goodbye.